Recently in the news, 3 stories of heinous crimes committed against supposed loved ones makes you wonder why people resort to violence when in conflict with people they are supposed to love, or at least care for in some kind of affectionate way. True crimes happen every day, but I don't think we or society will ever get used to hearing these stories, or much less understanding them. Udele Bruno, 38, and Shamato Clark, 40, were a couple who lived in Maryland. Udele resided in Brandywine and Shamato resided in Riverdale. On August 20th, 2022, Shamato was found deceased underneath a car outside of a home. As the Prince George's County Police investigated this horrific scene, it was discovered that Udele had purposely struck and killed her boyfriend with her vehicle. It was also reported that Udele Bruno has a history of domestic violence that dates back to 2005. She is charged with vehicular manslaughter and is in the custody of the Department of Corrections on a no-bond status. Deana Johnson, 24, and boyfriend Ricky Doyle, 25, pulled up into a Houston gas station in and around July or August of 2022. Shortly thereafter, they began arguing. Ricky Doyle was in the back seat of the car while the couple was engaging in this heated disagreement, while Johnson got out of the car and walked into the station. She purchased 50 cents in gas and walked over to the gas pump. In a rage, Deana sprayed Ricky with gasoline from the pump, dousing him with the flammable liquid. And as bystanders watched in horror, she set Ricky on fire in the back seat of the car. And to make matters worse, as the bystanders rushed towards the car in a panic to help Ricky, it has been reported that she drove off smiling. It was reported by witnesses that Ricky ran around the station with his skin melting off. Ricky Doyle suffered burns on most of his body. He fought for his life for 2 weeks, but died at a hospital in Collin County, Texas on August 2nd, 2022. Deana Johnson was facing aggravated assault charges that has now been upgraded to a murder charge. She claimed to witnesses that the fire was caused because she was smoking. David Evans, 50, was the pastor of Harmony Free Will Baptist Church in Ada, Oklahoma. He was married to Kristie Evans, 48, but apparently these were not the only two involved in their marriage. Khalil Square, 26, was also a third-party participant in a throuple relationship with the Evans couple where they participated in threesomes. And Khalil was also in a separate relationship with Kristie Evans. In March of 2021, a man entered the Evans home while the couple was sleeping in their bedroom and shot David Evans in the head and killed him, according to the police. He fled the scene, and Kristie Evans called 911 and told them an intruder had entered her home and murdered her husband. However, 4 days later, she confessed to her daughter that she had urged her lover, Khalil Square, to commit the murder, and she turned herself in to the police. Kristie told detectives she gave Khalil a gun, a box of bullets, and left the back door of her home open for him to enter through. Both face first-degree murder charges for the killing of David Evans. This tragic story seemed to be an open and shut case until Kristie Evans and her family claimed that Pastor David Evans was an abusive husband and father to their 3 kids, and Kristie was a victim in their nearly 30-year marriage with no way out. Now, when I first heard Kristie's defense for participating in the murder of her husband, it sounded like a fairly common defense many spouses claim when they are faced with the consequences of their actions. However, in this case, it does appear that there was abuse towards Kristie and her children at the hands of David Evans. David allegedly physically abused and controlled his wife and pressured her into having sex with multiple people, in addition to allegedly abusing their kids. David's conduct, as described by Kristie, falls under a form of abuse known as coercive control, where a man intimidates and humiliates a female partner. According to the Daily Mail, quote, According to the siblings, he would slam the children's heads together, lift them off of the floor by their hair, and make them clean the house at night while berating them. The abuse escalated to a point when in April of 2010, the 3 children were placed with their maternal grandparents after reporting their father's behavior to the police. End quote. On March 25, 2021, Kristie Evans and Khalil Square were arrested, and nearly a year later, on March 11th, Evans pled guilty. She first pled not guilty, and according to Pontotoc County court records, on August 10, 2022, Evans was sentenced to life in prison for a count of first-degree murder. She will remain in custody at the Oklahoma Department of Corrections. Kristie Evans changed her plea from not guilty to guilty, Monday, March 11th. According to True Crime Daily, quote, Evans' attorney, Joy Miskell, told NBC News her client understands there has to be accountability for her actions, and she's prepared to serve whatever sentence is handed down. Square will reportedly continue to plead not guilty to the charges, end quote. The lawyer's quote seems like a standard answer when anticipating a sentence by a judge. But the backstory is mind-boggling. According to the Oklahoman, quote, Pontotoc County District Judge Stephen Kessinger announced his decision. The judge called the killing nothing short of cold-blooded and said any remorse was newly found, end quote. You see, while Kristie was in custody, only 19 days after she was arrested, she wrote a letter to Khalil, essentially making sure he was all right and whether he was still her man. And according to the Oklahoman, she wrote a letter to someone else bragging about her sexual prowess and wrote, quote, I could wear a man out, she wrote. Any man would have done it for me after I got through with him, end quote. It makes sense why the judge felt like her remorse was newly found. Evidence like that makes you question this whole case and Kristie Evans' real motive. The prosecutor on the case said that she did it for a $250,000 life insurance policy because the couple had filed for bankruptcy recently, and the investigation into her claims of sexual coercion by her husband to commit sexual acts with other men could not be definitively concluded as coerced or forced. The special agent on her case essentially said he could not say that she wasn't in compliance with the requests of her husband for her to engage in multiple acts with men, but he also said he couldn't say she was comfortable with all encounters. Although the judge considered her abuse, he said she still orchestrated her husband's murder, and she wrote pornographic letters to Khalil and another inmate while in custody. Kristie Evans will not be eligible for parole until she is in her mid-80s, and she is now 49 years old. Udele, Bruno, Deana Johnson, and Kristie Evans all committed heinous crimes against a loved one, and the level of brutality is heartbreaking. There's not much more to say about these tragic stories. God bless. Bloopers. On March 25, 2021, Kristie Evans and Khalil Square were arrested, and nearly a year later, on March 11th, Evans pleaded. However, 4 days later, she confessed to her daughter that she had urged her lover. This tragic story seemed to be an open-shut case. Opened and shut. Hello.